If you publish a book in 2026, listeners expect an audio version. But for most independent authors, getting that audio made has been a closed door. This split-screen diagram compares typical production expenses against a new alternative. On the left, studio time and narration quickly accumulate to $5,000 upfront. On the right, the cost sits perfectly flat at zero, while natively supporting 29 languages. That zero-cost pipeline is driven by Spotify's new direct integration with ElevenLabs AI. Inside the platform, you upload a text document, pick a voice, and the system generates the audio. You never book a studio or manage massive external audio files. Because the upfront capital requirement is functionally gone, the primary problem for a creator is no longer figuring out how to afford an audiobook. The challenge is deciding where to actually publish it. Right now, the major distribution channels are heavily fractured. You have Spotify, Audible, Google Play, and traditional library networks operating side by side. Each platform enforces entirely different rules. Some embrace artificial intelligence completely, while others strictly ban anything that isn't a human voice. Picking the wrong platform creates serious risk. You could drain your bank account on production costs you won't recoup, or release an AI recording that actively irritates your core readers. To make this decision, we need to strip away the emotional arguments about AI. We will evaluate production friction, their unique ecosystem features, and what listeners actually tolerate. Building a sustainable audience as a creator right now means looking past the hype and focusing purely on the cold business logic of access and return on investment. Let's look exactly at how the Spotify ecosystem operates. The entire workflow happens in a single dashboard. You upload the manuscript, adjust the pacing of the ElevenLabs voice to match your tone, and hit publish without ever leaving the site. That single click instantly generates narration across 29 languages. A self-published author can drop a title directly into the German or Brazilian markets without paying a human translation team. This hub-and-spoke diagram maps the ecosystem features Spotify integrated into their player. Around the central audiobook are tools like AI recaps, page match, and interactive graphics. If a listener takes a week off, Spotify plays a 90-second audio catch-up. They also display follow-along illustrations that sync exactly with the timeline, turning passive listening into a highly interactive environment. Before this tool existed, authors had to generate their files on ElevenLabs separately and manually push them through services like Findaway Voices. That meant multiple logins and constant formatting friction. Now it happens in one place. The trade-off for this convenience is strict labeling. Spotify forces a highly visible, narrated by a digital voice tag onto every single project produced this way. You get dense features and fast global scaling, provided you accept absolute transparency about the lack of a human narrator. Audible represents the traditional route. They guard access to the largest legacy base of premium audiobook buyers in the market. Reaching that buyer base usually requires taking on that $2,000 to $5,000 upfront risk for a human narrator, along with managing a complex, separate distribution pipeline. For authors looking for a free AI alternative outside of Spotify, Google Play Books is the primary option for tapping into the massive Android user base. However, Google's tools lack deep ecosystem integrations. The output feels much closer to standard text-to-speech software. Modern listeners are accustomed to interactive features and fluid pacing. By sacrificing those elements on Google Play, the final product can feel outdated. Audible provides prestige, but places a severe financial risk on independent authors. Google Play removes the cost, but strips away the premium listener experience. We also have platforms like Libro.fm and library networks like Libby and Overdrive. These systems enforce a strict human-only policy. They are designed specifically to support traditional publishing models and independent bookstores. Listeners strongly favor these platforms because they guarantee nuanced, emotional human performances that code struggles to replicate perfectly. But that strict policy locks out any budget-conscious creator. Without thousands of dollars to spend on a studio, you cannot participate in these networks. While these platforms beautifully preserve the prestige of human performance, they are not viable launchpads for creators who rely on rapid, low-cost scaling to build an audience. To choose, look at what you're writing. This flowchart matches your manuscript to a platform based on emotional trust. Fiction and memoir sit on the emotional narrative path. Character-driven work demands human narration for immersion. Using AI for personal stories risks alienating our audience. Nonfiction, industry guides, and long-form blogs take the second path. Listeners in these niches prioritize clarity, speed, and multi-language access over emotional nuance, making Spotify AI an exact fit. The emotional weight of the content must dictate the choice between zero-cost AI scaling and high-cost human prestige. Spotify has built a completely frictionless publishing ecosystem that removes the barrier between a finished manuscript and a listening audience. Creators who opt in gain massive scale, instant translation across 29 languages, and direct access to 750 million monthly active users. The mandatory digital voice label functions as a necessary transparency tax. Being honest about the narration sets the right expectation up front, which actively builds long-term audience trust. The old gatekeepers of studios, expensive human narrators, and complex distribution deals are permanently gone for those willing to adapt. For the modern independent creator, the cost of entering the global audiobook market is finally zero. The only variable left is your own execution.